Welcome to the tilt space, or should I say a backstage pass to another funeral. All of us are down bad. I'm post tilt. Like I went to the sauna. I thought I was done tilting. Then I restarted tilting. Leone's been in a permanent state of tilt. Joe is very angry. We're all down bad. I mean, Leone said this was going to be a 20-minute show. So let's just get it off while we can. Say anything, Joe? Welcome to the tilt space.
Unbelievable.
Whoa.
Thank you for your 69 yards. Nice.
Yeah!
Fuck me.
That was not a touchdown?
Wait, did you just win 10K by 0.4?
That was a man's touchdown.
Oh, God.
God.
Okay, we actually are getting this trick.
I love it so much.
Doing this again?
Put it on the board.
This is the tilt space. Let the tilt course through your veins. I keep forgetting we have this incredible opening, but we're so tilted that I can't even get in the mindset of doing a cold open.
Well, I mean, I appreciate everybody tuning in. It was a tough week. We'll see you next week.
Yes, it's the best.
Leone, actually, I bet your hand was actually hovering over the end broadcast. Be like, this would be a good bit.
It would have been, but then I would have been like, I would have felt bad, and then I would have like
Felt bad for
had to
who?
figure out how to like
I feel bad
restart
for
it.
us. I was all excited to be back. Did my little Sunday morning stream. It's like, yes, tilt space. You just 1 week, I feel like I haven't seen you guys in a month, and then it's like halfway through these games, I just wanted anything in my life outside of football for the most part. You know what I mean? Like I'm not. Someone saved me. What? There's half a game left in some of this stuff, but I honestly don't even. I never saw the path to winning about halfway through the slate, and now I don't even see the path to like even salvaging anything good. Like I don't even know, man. Like worst stacking slate of the year, worst running back slate of the year, and then a couple of the chalk wide receivers hit. So if you just like faded. If you didn't have two of those guys, like I don't know, man. You guys tell me if I'm wrong. I just like don't see a lot of good out there right now at all. Even on the top teams, man, we got snowflakes everywhere.
Yeah, I mean, Gabe Davis and who I played on like some Allen stuff, but him and Devontae Parker getting there like basically with their last possible chances, like literally the last possible snaps for either of them, they scored touchdowns. Which on a slate that's so low scoring, like that's huge. Like that's totally flips what they've done. So that was tough. After the first half, I felt great. I was like, okay, I got a Singletary touchdown. He was low. Foreman looks good. Claypool's doing terrible, but he's in negative game script. We got a few different Allen stacks that could get there. Kyler's playing from behind. Maybe those doubles get there. We had Amon-Ra St. Brown on our primary team. And yeah, just to Joe's point, nothing materialized. And it was like the chalk, there's like Parker and Gabe got there, but like James Robinson wasn't great. I mean, but like everything that we would have tried to do kind of failed. So the chalk actually ended up being like good in a weird way because everything else kind of sucked.
It was good if you were perfect. The perfect chalk. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like there's plenty of chalk that didn't hit. Like there's Gaskin chalk that sucked. There's Michael Carter chalk that sucked. There's tons of chalk that sucked. You know what I mean? Like you literally had to hit the nuts with like a mini stack with St. Brown and Kirk. And then you had to play Gabe Davis as basically either a skinny or one-off. You had to pay up a tight end. You had
our Huntley season.
Like, everything else is completely AIDS. Like I don't know, man. I think it's worse than you guys realize.
Well, I mean, the other thing, a lot of times when the way you can fade chalk and still win is if you land on the game that just blows up. And, one of our best lineups that we had from 3 or 4 weeks ago, we got on that Vikings Packers game. We got ceiling games from Adams and Jefferson. They weren't chalk. And then you can make up for even just chalk being solid. But today there was not a single outlier game. We tried to take stabs on Denver, Cincinnati. We tried to take stabs on Pittsburgh and Tennessee, and we could not get a ceiling game anywhere we looked.
Yeah, and I feel like I had some micro takes this week that went really bad, and it's not a good scene for me. Gabe Davis doubling up Diggs. I was definitely out on a limb with Diggs a little bit. Jerry Jeudy, I was out on a limb on. I've seen him get one target and he wasn't even looking at the ball. That was bad. You know, Kittle smashing, which I had Kittle projecting fine. He was really just an ownership fade, not like I think he's going to do poorly fade. So I don't know, just some of that went bad. But like the only thing I got right, like on a micro take, was Singletary being a good play for Buffalo with Moss inactive, like kind of reading the tea leaves on the snaps last week. But other than that, it was a rough scene. But that's kind of what we talk about. Like it's hard to get the micro stuff right, especially on a specific week. And these guys have such wide ranges of outcomes that I felt like we got our percentages in great. The Buffalo stuff came in pretty low outside of Gabe.
We should pull that up because I ran a Buffalo stack in the SPY too, and I was fist pumping when I saw those percentages.
10% Allen, like Diggs was what, 15 in most stuff?
Well, because I ran the ETR optimal this morning and it had Josh Allen and Diggs in it, and I was like, oh, this is going to be pretty popular, but I don't know if there's a way to get around it. And then it's even higher in this contest than in some of the larger field stuff, but I mean, people really got off it in favor of Adams.
Yeah, I had Diggs at not Diggs. I had Allen at, single digits in some spots. And I felt good about it this morning because, I felt like I made up for my mistake last week. Didn't play the quote unquote chalk Bills stuff and played Gibson. This week I faded Robinson, almost got there in a few different ways. Like we basically had Singletary match Robinson. Dylan could still smash him. And you could see the Bill stuff starting to come in low when I reran the projected ownership. Like Kyler started to separate from Allen this morning, and the Diggs stuff, it was like, well, the concern with Diggs was that Allen would carry him, but if Kyler's starting to pull away from Allen, like Diggs probably isn't going to be played that much, and people can afford to play Adams with these cheap wide receivers. So even though we didn't play Diggs on this team, we decided to go with the Josh onslaught. And with us playing the onslaught, we wanted it a little bit cheaper. Of course, Jeff Wilson's doing good. I got off him today just because it seemed like he was going to carry some more steam. And he was played a decent bit, but not a huge amount. I guess that was one micro take I did kind of get right, was like people were, I think, overreacting to Wilson's poor games previously. But I'm all over the place because this is going poor. The Pittsburgh Tennessee game killed us. I mean, it just, neither Deontay or Claypool doing anything.
Yeah, and then the Julio
Najee didn't
Jones.
do shit either. The entire game was AIDS.
Yeah, I mean,
yeah, Foreman did his thing at least, like, but that was about it.
Yeah, he's like one of 4 or 5 guys in that exact same price range. If you got Foreman, congrats. If you didn't, you're fucked. You lose all your money. Like it was that, like the edges was so small of actually profiting on this slate versus winning, and now it's so low scoring that I don't know if someone goes crazy in the third, fourth quarter here. You never know, man. It's wild.
Yeah.
Let's look at some of our other teams here, just so. And also, yes, acknowledging what the chat was bringing up. Teddy Bridgewater hurt really bad. The cart came out for him, so another brutal blow in that game.
So this team I think is a really good. Like this team looked like it had some upside, but we're just getting all rushing touchdowns from San Francisco, and Pitts. Pitts was tackled at the 1 on the first drive, and then he had a end zone target on 4th and goal from the 1 that he didn't convert, and that's just gone bad. But yeah, we had Deonta Foreman with Claypool. Foreman hits. We ended up, I think we got off Singletary, and
we were messing with that combo. Yeah.
We were afraid to play 2 Singletaries, so we threw Carter in. So that stings a little bit, but it doesn't look like it would have mattered. And we ran pretty pure on the Kirk one-off. He's another chalk. Like he wasn't crazy chalk. I think he was totally fine play at 20%, but he was another guy that got there real late. Like he scored on like a 3rd down play and one of Arizona's second to last drives. And then on their very last drive, he caught a couple passes from Colt McCoy after they literally stopped trying.
Yeah, I had asked you about that. I was like, all right, Christian Kirk comes in at 20%, good chalk or bad chalk. And you said neutral. And I agreed with that. You were paying like 1,000 extra for a similar ceiling and probably less risk than Devontae Parker for like half the ownership. And I was okay at that. He came in at 16% in the SPY. So he was even a little lower in some spots. And I felt fine. I mean, he was your 1, 2, 3, 4, 5th, 7th highest projected ceiling wide receiver on the slate. That's how bad it was.
Yeah, that was a totally fine play. But man, this Ayuk play, I mean, if we want to count Sklansky bucks to get him not low, basically unowned. I mean, this is a 100-person field, so we're one of 2 people with Ayuk. I think is huge.
That's crazy.
It's getting fucking worse. Rodgers to Aaron Jones. We got Jawan Johnson. Like fucking shed time for everyone here.
I think Joe's the angriest of us.
This is the most tilted I've ever been. I'm pretty confidently saying that. This might be the most tilted I've ever been in my entire life.
Well, like, tell people why. Tell people what else you're sweating, Joe.
Well, sweating a piece of the live final. Just, I mean, of all slates to have the live final going on right now, it's not great. I don't know, man. If you have like multiple seats in something, you like obviously you need to kind of spread shares around a little bit, like still have access to the chalk, all of those things. And if you have multiple seats, you have the luxury of doing different stacks, right? And
sorry, I'm just laughing at Leone pulling up season-long teams right now.
Yeah, what is this? NFFC.
Leone, let Joe have his tilt moment.
I mean, that's pretty much it. I'm trying to I didn't see a path. That was pretty much it.
Yeah.
There will be no cameras in today. For the record, there will be no alternate camera today. That is for celebratory events. This is not that.
I would not have won like pretty much no matter what today.
Oh, I feel that way too. So I guess that should make me feel better, right? Is like I don't even know if there was much of a path.
I feel like the way I played, and Peter and I were talking about this in Discord, like if they run this slate over 10 times, I think we smash a couple, like 2 or 3 times. Like, and that's what Peter told me. Like, and I think he's right. Like, dude, the percentages we got were great. The fragile chalk was mega played. I mean, Robinson wasn't just chalk. He was like 65%, you know, like Devontae Parker was mega chalk. It's crazy. The only good thing is Jeff Wilson doing it for the brand here on this season-long sweat. This is a 5K entry fee that we're in the first round of the playoffs here, that we won the regular season points and head-to-head, and I need the victory lap something, so deal with it. Just don't worry. I've got best ball tabs up too. So
should you bring up NFT League, Mike? I'm in a 7-way tie for first in the rookie right now.
You, me, and Dink, buddy.
Are you in the? Did you go Kelsey, Tyreek, and the rookie?
Yeah.
Nice. I mean, that seemed like the optimal way to try and get a seat with fucking this slate.
I almost went Mahomes, Tyreek, Kelsey, JT, and All Pro.
I think everyone that like actually walked through the scenarios and you're just sitting there, it's like, all right, I'm gonna be in a 1v1 with about 5 to 6 other people. I think I'd rather just play Tyreek and Kelsey in the rookie and tie.
Yeah, I was worried there's some Anders teams coming. No one knows what we're talking about though, so
that's okay.
But yeah, we'll be in the final for the 8, so that's a good thing.
Yeah, Joe, to sympathize with your tilt, like with the live final stuff, it is. So I guess I'm torn, right? Because obviously how this slate went and it was so gross and games postponed and less options and all that stuff. I legitimately felt really good when I set my lineups today. Like I felt pretty happy about how isn't that the dream when the chalk condenses in pretty thin chalk, which I thought James Robinson and Parker were. And then you get like the highest ceiling stack of the slate at low ownership. And it's like, okay, this is everything we want. On the other hand, I sympathize because it's like this felt like a week 18 or whatever, traditionally week 17 throwaway week, all these late scratches. You can't, you don't have the same rhythm to your prep that you normally do. And for you guys who had a bunch of live final teams, that sucks. Cause I punted like refreshing my stuff, researching until legit late last night. Like I was just like, I'm not messing with this until the last minute. And I have to imagine that's hard for a live final process.
Yeah, I don't know. There was just like multiple things about it's a different type of slate, right? There's no late swap. there's people that have one seat that are going to go uber contrarian. Anyone that's been to a live final before that's competed in one knows that the chalk usually goes under-owned in them, which happened, except for very specific players.
I thought it was pretty steamed from what you told me.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Very specific players. So I guess honestly,
But it
I
was
started to look at the
players,
Josh Allen
right?
stuff, and I was shocked that Josh Allen was so low, but it seems like that was everywhere. So maybe that wasn't just the live final. The Gabe Davis stuff was very I mean, fucking Devontae Adams is 50%. What is he in everything else?
He's about there.
About that. Okay, so maybe it wasn't that different. There's a lot of times though when you're at these events, you're sitting around and people are just like, "Oh, if I knew X player was going to be 15%, I would have shoved." You know what I mean? Like a guy that we all assume is going to be like 25 or 30. So that does happen. I don't know. I haven't really looked through a ton of the ownership stuff. Like James Robinson, 77%. It's a 200-person tournament. Like
That's just like you can't, like, that's insane. Like
Devontae Parker's 52%, so that touchdown happens. That's awful. Like Gabe Davis is 30%. Who
Hollywood
else?
got hurt.
But then like you're getting some of these other plays, right? Like I mean, Kittle's 24%. You're getting like Chenault at 2. You're getting Josh Allen at 10. You're getting guys like Marvin Jones at 6. Like who else? I'm just clicking through some of our teams right now. Cordero Patterson at 6. Like there's so many opportunities here for things to have like slightly started to like Gallup 3%. Like the Dak stuff was so low. I mean, maybe that was like that everywhere, but there was paths like MVS in like the best deep ball matchup imaginable is at 1% in the live final for $2.5 million. You know what I mean? Because everyone in the MVS range at 4,900, they played Parker or they play, you know what I mean? Like that range, or they played like one of these running backs, like they played Robinson for 500 more, something like that. You know what I mean? So it's fucking wild, man. 77% on a running back in a live final where you need first, all the money's in the top 5.
Yeah, that's.
And I'm not even saying Robinson's a bad play. Like we had, I think of 9 teams, we had 6 Robinson, like much higher than, you know what I mean? But
I'm trying to think what I would do in that scenario because it's weird. Because
I'd love to
like
hear your
9
perspective
teams
on
in
it
the
because
same
maybe I was
contest.
just wrong on some of our strategy stuff, but I don't know.
No, I don't. I like. I'm trying to think what I would do with Robinson because I don't think you'd probably don't want to full
Match the
fade him
field?
on
No,
9.
match the field
but
70, dude. Like you have 9 teams, that's 8. Like that's 7 or 8
Yeah.
teams.
I think I probably would have played him on like 2.
Yeah.
But I'm
And then you'd be
a
dead.
nut. I mean, you know me. Like I'm.
No, I know. Would you have, I guess what sucks is like in some slates where there's very specific game stacks and whatnot and stuff that makes a lot of sense. Maybe we forced that a little bit. We ended up playing 2 Kyler teams, 2 Josh Allen teams, and then we played some single stacks with like Garoppolo and Kittle, and we had a Rodgers double. We ended up playing Lazard, who had an egregious drop in the red zone. We have Lazard and Adams on the Rodgers team. So there's a bunch of stuff. We didn't do a ton of bringbacks. Obviously, the one bringback that we definitely should have done would have been Cooks. So that team would have been looking a lot better. But even like some of the cheaper plays outside of like the very specific ones, like you're buried, man. You are absolutely buried. Gaskin was like only 22% in this too, which was not great. I think we ended up with 40. Like we doubled the field on Gaskin. So the one stand we took on doubling the field just completely blew up in our face.
Yeah, I was tilting the Cook stuff a little because part of my one non like numbers based process thing is I love reading Karane's walkthrough over on NBC Sports Edge, and he had a pretty favorable write up on Brandon Cooks in this spot. And the gist was basically, I know it's gross, it's Brandon Cooks, but man, if there was ever a spot to play Brandon Cooks, it's here. And I did, and I played a LaVisca team, and I played a O'Shags team, and I mean, obviously the mini correlation was sitting right there. And I didn't do it. And he, I believe he's in the optimal lineup right now with 32 points. So that definitely
he's got to be. Is he the highest scoring player on the slate?
Like, he might.
Yeah,
be.
he is. He's right behind Patrick Mahomes. So it's Brandon Cooks and Duke Johnson leading the way for us.
Joe, but there's some interest from the chat. If you have the heart to pull up the live final leaderboard,
sure,
do you have that?
I can send you guys a link.
I was laughing because Osimo had a tweet after James Robinson's first touchdown that the entire live final started cheering, which is just like, it's the biggest cell phone. If you look around the room and everyone's cheering for the same thing, you probably made a
you gotta think too that a lot of those people cheering have like 2 seats or less. You know what I mean?
Right. He was on their one team.
Imagine
yeah.
playing James Robinson with 2 fucking seats.
I can't.
I
I
don't know
personally can't.
what's worse, playing James Robinson with 2 seats or playing 6 out of 9 James Robinson.
Or not having a seat and criticizing people who played James Robinson.
Yeah, for the record, like none of these seats were mine. Not one of them was mine.
But I mean, yeah, getting 9 seats is super impressive. I just had to needle. I didn't. I see it now.
So Smiz alerts us in the chat here that Mark Andrews just hit the bonus. I'm tilting this a little bit because I was messing around with Huntley, Adams, MVS, Andrews combos. I ended up getting off of it because I was so worried about the Adams chalk. But Mark Andrews now, he probably, I think he just passed Brandon Cooks for highest score on the slate.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he did. I was kind of tilting that going into this morning. I was like, I'm gonna play 1 out of 3 teams with Huntley, Andrews, because Overzet's on it, Dink's on it. I personally felt like iffy on it, and then I was like, the Buffalo stuff's gonna go too low. I gotta play the Buffalo stuff twice, and like part of me looking at the ownership percentage on the Buffalo stuff is like, yeah, right decision, but obviously, results wise, it doesn't feel like the right decision to not have Huntley Andrews.
Pete, shout out to you, man. Who was on your thumbnail this morning?
Mark Andrews.
Fucking rights, buddy.
Didn't even play the guy.
You're
fucking put on my
speaking like
thumbnail.
a true 10K sub YouTuber, man. Fucking right. How have you not victory lapped that by now? Can you repost your thumbnail? I might do it for you.
No. It was interesting, Leone, because you're like a lot of your lineups throughout the year will often have that cheap running back or the rushing quarterback, either unstacked or a skinny stack. So I remember, I think I messaged you on Thursday or Friday. I was like, Huntley? Like, I was like, this seems like such a Leone play.
Yeah, I felt like this week was a good one to stack a little heavier. It didn't work out, but I still kind of, even retrospect, feel like that. It's an ugly slate. You kind of want to increase the correlation. And the Andrews price tag just scared me a little bit away, as well as the Adams ownership. So I was like, it was just tough for me. And then I was like, well, if I play Pittsburgh, Tennessee, do I really want that with Huntley instead of with Tannehill or Ben? Like what scenario has to play out for that game to hit and Huntley to still outscore those guys in a meaningful way? So it was something in a vacuum that I liked the Huntley play, but I couldn't figure out the lineup construction, which was just really the skinny, coming back with Andrews.
Well, and then it really messes with you too, because once I saw the Diggs percentage, I was like, oh shit, either Adams is getting insane steam or Adams is getting some of the Diggs and then Debo is going to come in higher than we expected. But then once I was behind early, I was like, I can't eat this Adams chalk. And so then I kind of just decided to blow up my Huntley stuff altogether, instead of being like, you know what, Peter, you could still play Huntley to Andrews then with like Debo or something like that. And I don't know if that's, a mistake. I ended up getting on something that involved Patterson and Ayuk and Jimmy G instead. But it was like, I liked Andrews. And then just because of the Adams stuff, I just blew it all up.
I wonder if anyone played Huntley in the final, because there's no late swap in this, right? So
there's got to be some Huntley. He was pretty popular.
Imagine the stones on a guy to play Huntley in this thing. I can't.
He was kind of popular.
2.5%. Just found it. 2.5%.
That's he was like 15% in the dome.
Right, but you could have swapped out of him.
Yeah, but who would you have swapped off of late? Like
I don't know. You could have just given yourself a 2v2.
Yeah, I don't know, but there weren't popular quarterbacks late, I guess. Is what I'm saying.
I mean, yeah, what would you have needed to get to like a Jimmy G team? Like you guys would have had to play like Jimmy G.
I would have kept the Jimmy G team, I guess.
No, that's what I'm saying. Yeah. Like if you were to like have an out to play Huntley Andrews versus like Jimmy G and Kittle, like there had to have been some sort of salary difference there, right?
Yeah. The Huntley was like, I think our 3rd highest value or 4th highest value. We had 5th. I'm remembering. We had Dak, Tua, Allen, and Kyler up there, but Huntley wasn't that off the board. Like I just didn't. I didn't like the construction with it, but
That's what I'm kicking myself at Mark Andrews, because on a normal slate, and I know he was expensive. He didn't project well as a points per dollar guy, but you're looking at the ceiling projections and it's Kittle and Gesicki, just massive chalk separating from everyone else. And then a huge cliff ownership wise down to Mark Andrews and not that different of a ceiling than Gesicki. You're just paying $1,400 more for it. And so it's like, that's a dream spot. You're now getting Huntley, that not everyone's going to be on because of the Lamar uncertainty. You're getting huge leverage, positional leverage off of the two most popular tight ends without sacrificing ceiling. I'm just now kicking myself. I fucking put it on the thumbnail and then I didn't play it. And it was just, it was there all along.
That's why you don't put a player in your thumbnail, man. You just got to put like a weird face. Like, so then I could be like surprised about any player on the slate. You know what I mean? It plays no matter what.
It's one of those things too, where you don't want to chase the recent performances too much, but if the field isn't buying into something like how heavily Huntley targeted Andrews, late last week, it's kind of one of those like things where, well, maybe it's worth gambling on that happening again. Like, obviously we can't project it, based off one half, but if the field is just going to assume that that's not a thing, Pitts with a long catch. Like those are the things I like to go in on. I hate going in on stuff where the field's like, where it's the opposite, where everyone's like, oh, did you see Andrews' targets? We got to project him for a 30% target share. And then like Andrews would have been an easy fade. But we do know the ceiling was there and the field definitely wasn't playing that Andrews second half or he would have been higher.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And it's frustrating. I thought Dawson Knox and Zach Ertz. I ended up on Knox. I didn't play Ertz, but I thought, those two guys being a little higher priced, relative to their projection, but still getting attached to the two QBs with the highest ceiling was interesting. I felt there was a ton of different ways you could go at tight end in that 4 to 5K range. It was a unique slate in that the punt tight ends just were not attractive whatsoever. I think, Leone, did you end up playing some Uzoma?
Yeah, I played Uzoma on my main team, which is just fucking atrocious.
I like the Uzoma play. Good job, Leone.
I was just like, let's just punt,
Yeah.
And I correlated it with Judy, who I thought was a really good play. As you can see, he's got a pretty full stat line. So I think I was 100%, correct there. The Claypool and Judy plays, like when I do the tournament review, it's like which one was better because they both just did so well and they were just both so heavily involved. I think they've got the same amount of catches, so it's really hard to decide, which one was better given the similar receiving workload, same amount of catches, same amount of yards, and same amount of receiving touchdowns actually. So that's an impressive one.
Can you pull up the universe's comment from a couple minutes ago? It's awesome to have the universe here in the chat. And this actually really hits me right now. Raise your vibration. Everything's going to be all right. Thank you, universe. I appreciate that.
Get yourself a therapy dog, man. It just makes everything better.
But like, I feel pretty good about this team, like
it's a nice team, Leone. I love the team.
Like, I think even though like you could argue I went too contrarian trying to get my GPP bro card back, but I don't think even though these guys are super low that any of them were like bad plays on the slate.
How is Josh Allen 8%? This is the Thunderdome, right?
Yeah.
I would have assumed he was 25% in the Thunderdome.
Yeah. Wiggins played the Huntley Adams, but he didn't have Andrews.
And if anyone was going to pull off the double expensive tight end in the dome, it was Wiggins.
Yeah, he got I liked the idea, but he got on this Nico Collins kick, which was just
whoa. I legit hadn't heard Nico Collins' name until right now this week.
Out of the last 3 weeks, he's had 2 weeks like with really high target shares.
Keep on that shit, bro. Nothing. You guys don't look at that shit. Serious.
I mean, I don't. I'm not going to claim to what Leone actually makes progression. You could definitely say that I don't look at that shit. That's fair.
What would you have? A good cornerback matchup?
Just teams that get beat deep, bro.
you're gonna tilt Leone so hard right now. I
Nah.
can tell.
I mean,
We're talking micro, man. We want to talk about man zone coverage stuff too. We do that.
dude, what was it? The one Beasley week, and then he had a catch against like but it was like everyone played him because of the zone coverage of the team, and then his catch came against man coverage.
That's like a fantasy analysis in a nutshell. I forget. I think it was an AJ Brown week where everyone was worried about a cornerback, and then he had a bad game, but he ended up not lining up against him at all. And so everyone's like victory lapping the tough matchup.
Yeah.
And then Dwayne, I think, had a tweet where he's like, he didn't even go up against that corner at all.
The busted coverage touchdown to where it's a chalk wide receiver gets there and it literally guy falls over. Yeah. Fucking nightmare.
I think, but like going back to the Andrews thing with like playing the like Huntley targets him a lot, like kind of narrative. I think that micro stuff again is like fine if it's not driving ownership, right? Like if it's just like an extra feather in your cap, like why not? You know, you're just kind of like, what's the worst case scenario is it doesn't matter. And this play is what we thought this play was.
You're not
right?
playing him for that reason. It's exactly what you said. It's a tiebreaker, if anything, right?
Yeah. But like, if it's like, oh, this play looks okay, and this guy's really good against man, and they're playing man, and he's not going to be owned, I'll be like, fuck yeah, fire that up. He's going to crush the man defense. But like when guys get steamed, when it's like, a Bills stack, it's a Bills week, and everyone's playing Beasley because, they have to because they're playing a zone. So you got to play Beasley. It's like.
So you're telling me that MVS at 1% in the live final for $2.5 million against the worst deep ball team defense in the entire league wasn't a good play?
That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that sounds like exactly what we're talking about. Like that sounds like
it's really a fun time.
You should run that with Huntley Andrews, dude.
Well, fuck yeah, dude.
Did you play Andrews on your double with the Packers?
We did.
Did you play Hollywood?
We actually didn't do a bring back on that one.
Gotcha.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Some teams you don't bring back, man. You ever heard a guy named Brandon Cooks? He's unbring backable.
It is hard. The bring back stuff's hard. I like. It just kind of depends how much I think the team needs to get pushed, and like, can you even identify the guy to push them? Because sometimes teams get pushed, but like they get pushed in a way that was just like, in a way that wasn't predictable or that you would have never gotten on, and then it's like.
Sometimes you play Brandon Cook, sometimes you play Michael Carter, man. That's the way she goes on the bringbacks.
I felt good about Carter when we got Ty Johnson inactive, which really the combination of one, less competition directly for pass down work, but like two, that's just a good sign, right? That Carter's probably going to have a normal workload. Well, which he didn't, but theory.
The thing that I'm not even convinced that, I mean, the thesis of the Carter play, right? And we saw it a few weeks ago or however many weeks ago when he had 12 targets was in garbage time as the check down guy, and the Jets were up. And so they were using Tevin Coleman as like their hammer. And it was like the whole thesis was Michael Carter catching, check downs, and that never ended up having to happen.
It's a pretty big spread, wasn't it? Wasn't it like at least a touchdown spread?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. It was a huge spread.
Yeah. So, I mean, made a lot of sense.
We didn't tilt Gaskin. Yeah, I feel like I should throw it to Joe on the Gaskin tilt. But before I throw it to you, like Gaskin was another one where when Malcolm Brown wasn't activated off the IR, it was just there was Levitan's kicking himself because there was a weird quote from Flores, but like there was no indication that Duke Johnson was going to play the role that he was going to play.
Yeah, I mean, if the Duke Johnson thing was a thing and I missed it, like I'm willing to take the L there. I just like never really considered him coming in and having this large of a role. Pretty actively didn't want to play Gaskin with Gesicki or Parker, just like preferred it on different type of teams as a one-off, like in that range, man. Like the price was like kind of around like a lot of these other guys, right? Like if you played Foreman, you're feeling great. If you played Robinson, you're feeling okay. If you played Gaskin or Carter, you're absolutely buried. That's like basically what it came down to, right? Like no one was playing these guys in the flex. So it's like you pick one of them, like you may have a prayer. If you pick two of them, you're great. If you had Gaskin, got to the point where if your combinations were wrong, like our best teams had Gaskin on them. So it's just like
Right.
by the luck of the draw, the one-off running back in that salary range, if we just sort of backed into a Foreman there, it's like a completely different slate in some ways, or maybe you have one team that emerges, or even like Chase
And
Edmonds, man, like trying to get a little bit different in that range, like that doesn't even work out, right?
yeah,
So like that
and
whole range of running
Gaskin,
back was eights. I mean, if you wanted to play, I guess at this point, you probably could have played what's his face? Jeff Wilson Jr. He's basically going to match Robinson. I think he already has. Singletary.
yeah,
You guys were on the Singletary stuff. I was not, so shout out to you guys. But
You got one thing right.
It was mostly bad in that range.
yeah. Dylan might end up okay.
Yeah.
Was the Gaskin thing though? He was going to be owned a little bit, but it was leverage off Gesicki and Parker. And as Lou said, like even if you were concerned that he wasn't going to get a full workload coming off COVID, Duke Johnson had 4 carries through 14 weeks, and he was active for some of those games. So it was just impossible to know what would happen. And I think it's one of those spots where a guy coming back from COVID, you know, people are worried about it. And like 98% of the time, it doesn't matter. And like we kind of like hit the 2% of the time that it mattered, and we just, you know, didn't have any heads up from any of the beats or anything on it. So,
well,
sort of
and I think
is what it is.
the Gaskin thing, I think, is actually an instructive example for like GPP stuff, because I think on other weeks that weren't as gross, you see Parker and Gesicki as mega chalk. There's more options at running back, and Gaskin is insanely good leverage.
Or
and
you
use
flip the bill, dude, and you play someone good. You play Joe Mixon, you're buried. You play Najee Harris, you're buried. Like, what do you even do if you were to flip the bill? That's where I'm frustrated.
Right. And so what I was just saying is like, I didn't end up playing Gaskin because of his ownership projection, where it was like, you're willing to take on that risk of him coming back from COVID, Duke Johnson, whoever getting mixed in, if he's 5%
Right.
and leverage. But
Oh,
if
yeah.
he's coming in at 20%, then it's like, now I just want to full fade this game, right? Because I just want this game to fail. And so that was the tricky thing with Gaskin.
What'd you think about Wilson? Because this was a tough one for me, where I felt like I had a read on Wilson that was a lot more positive than the market. But because of the nature of the slate, Wilson got to 20% too. I think in the lottos, he came in lower, in which I think he was definitely a really good play there. But he was, I think I flag planted like him and Debo together. And then I ended up not playing Wilson. So I was like 20%. I don't, it was similar to what you were saying with Gaskin. I was like, I'm like all in on I'm going to be right if he's 10%. I don't know if I want to do that if he's 20. And I'm tilting, of course, because it did kind of end up happening the way I foresaw it happening, but I didn't play him.
You were fine playing Wilson and Debo together, Leone?
I was fine playing them together. But I preferred Wilson and Ayuk. But
Sure.
when I flag planted it, it was kind of like what they were. I thought they were both individually like really good.
Okay.
It wasn't a.
Oh my God, that Bengals strip
Yeah.
from Lock.
Lock
Jesus.
is so bad.
No, because I was talking about this earlier this week too, and I was, you know, we love the mini correlations. I understand why they make sense, but I thought this was a week to be very purposeful with your mini correlations. Like I was talking this morning about the Bengals Broncos, 2 very run heavy teams that want to run when they have a lead. So playing a Joe Mixon with a Broncos pass catcher, that narrative mini correlation really adds up for me, or vice versa. Javonte Williams with a Bengals pass catcher. Whereas with the teams like the 49ers and the Cardinals that had big implied team totals that can score a lot of points without necessarily being pushed, I was okay running Edmonds and Kirk without a bring back. Obviously, I'm happy that you guys got me on Amon-Ra St. Brown in that stack, but I don't think it was mandatory. In similar where we played Pitts as well. And I don't think those were bad plays, but I also don't think those were plays you had to force if they didn't fit in those situations.
Worst game of the, or worst week of the year for correlation? Can we agree to that? I can't think of one that was worse than this. There's
there was
not
no
one game that stands out.
Correlate. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was all like a skinny stack and bring back at best.
Nightmare.
Yeah.
You probably could have just smashed this slate if you just would have basically just ran optimals, man. Especially the ETR
no, I
projection.
don't.
Shout out to
I
you, Mike,
think
because you're getting all the fucking Allen. You're getting all the Gabe Davis. You're getting all the Parker. You would have smashed.
yeah, but there's
But
other
that's not
stuff.
how we play.
There's other stuff with it that you wouldn't have smashed on. Like you still would have had to
You would have
end
had a lot
up
of
like,
Gaskin in there. You would have had a lot of.
you would have had to end up pretty perfect with it. I wouldn't have had any Andrews. Like,
Sure.
I mean, the way the results played out, there was no way I was winning this slate. Like, I'm not going to reverse engineer and be like, I should have done that, because nothing that won is going to be something I think I should have done. I mean, maybe some Huntley Andrews stuff, right? Like I was close to playing that, but
Oh,
I
my
still
tilt
wouldn't
is actually not that not that process based. My tilt is results based right now. I acknowledge that. Like, I don't know what I would have done differently, to be fair.
That's what I said that it sounds like someone who doesn't want to take an L, but I felt good about my lineup. Like my tilt is like yours, Joe. It's results based. I was excited about this slate. I was excited to make the leverage plays. I was excited for the kind of mini correlations we made in the Cincy, Denver, Titans, Pittsburgh game. Like, I don't know. I show my chest. No regrets. No regrets.
Yeah, man. Anytime you can get Brandon Cooks and Duke Johnson leading the slate, man, like what a great slate to play.
Like,
Lazard hates touchdowns. We can agree to that too, right? Just a couple touchdowns for the boys.
but yeah, I mean, not only did I like my numbers at lock, but at halftime of the 1:00 games, I thought like I was kind of a favorite, not a favorite, but like I was like, I'm gonna have a sweat somewhere today. I was like, Singletary started off good. The Bills are starting with the ball with the half. Diggs has got a double-digit first half performance. Parker's kind of tame. Gabe's kind of tame. Like, James Robinson's like doing okay, but the script isn't great for him. Foreman's good. I felt good. I don't know, but
wasn't the Foreman stuff kind of ruined though? Because if you did a mini, like you probably guessed wrong.
Well, but if you're you got Tennessee up 13-0 at halftime, you're kind of like, you've got the script you want, right?
Well,
the
also,
result wasn't.
Oh
in
yeah,
yet, but
I thought the same thing about Kyler. That was great too.
Foreman could have had a 30-point game, like full stop.
Yeah.
I mean, he got injured on the first carry, wasn't in at the goal line series on that first series for them. I mean, multiple things that broke against him. It could have been a massive game for him.
Yeah.
That CPAT, we haven't talked about the CPAT stuff yet, where that it gets called back, touchdown gets called back, and then it gets stuffed at the one. The CPAT share is hoping to bring like our teams back to life. Like we can't even get that. We can't even get that on week 15.
Everyone's talking about Russell Gage. The only joy I have might be right now pulling up some old Davis Maddock tweets about why you should never draft Russell Gage and retweeting those might be.
I think our boy Noel has some Russell Gage shares and he's sweating a little bit. So hopefully Noel can have a nice week. How'd you guys approach Devontae Adams? Because he's like 50% and everything, right? But there wasn't a ton to pay up for really anywhere.
Yeah, I kind of took a stance that this game was going to be slow, and Green Bay playing from ahead. So I
where'd you spend salary?
Him. What's that?
Where did you spend salary though? Right? Like it was.
I played Diggs. I played Allen. I played premium.
Leone told me, he's like, I'm gonna only use $40,000 of my $50,000 cap this week because it's just so easy for me otherwise that I want to give other people a chance. So
oh man, dude.
I think I sent it. I don't know if that was in our chat or another one, but I pivoted off of my Adams once I was behind because I didn't want to run into that chalk, even though he still had the highest ceiling of anyone left.
Where did Debo end up in your stuff? Because that was probably your pivot, right? Debo and
I actually didn't do Debo.
Joe, MBS,
worried,
buddy.
No, here I'll tell you the exact.
Well, I mean, no,
it's great. Is that the bonus?
Can't you like move up a little bit? Like, I mean, I know you can't win, but
so the cool thing about our Rodgers team is that we got a defensive touchdown from Houston. We also have Gaskin. Hang on. Let's see if I can find it.
Oh, let's also talk
Yes,
about how
yes, I've been nice, but because we're just letting the tilt, we got Leone. You got to take the L on this.
Yeah. So, fucking Jeff, I can't believe I didn't end up playing fucking Jeff Wilson. He is now got the bonus and touchdown. But we intentionally rearranged a team so we could play Texans D over Giants D, and I forgot to make the swap on the defense. And I think the guy we got off of too, I think was Singletary.
Yeah.
Honestly, like go ahead, Pete.
No, I was just gonna say I remember we were building this team on the call, and we had the Giants team in, and I was like, my only concern is that the Giants are a meaningfully worse play at defense than the Texans. And then we rearranged it to get Texans in, and Leone didn't hit submit.
In Leone's defense, like there's some moving parts for probably all three of us in different ways on Sunday mornings,
100%.
right? So just the fact that Leone takes over, just like basically doing our lineups, like that is like more of a fucking burden than I think most people realize, right? Like there's a fucking lot going on.
And let me give the flip side of this. I did not want to play Amon-Ra St. Brown in our Kyler Murray stack. I wanted to run that without it. And Leone talked me into Amon-Ra as the bring back and push back on my FUD. So that's how it goes.
And for the record, I like was completely baffled that you guys were on Singletary because I was just like, that makes no sense to me. But okay, I don't know, man. So I guess me and Pete both got something very specific, very, very, very wrong. So Leone, I don't care that you put in a wrong lineup, dude. Whatever.
I didn't care either.
Those are like two things I got right compared to like 100 things I got wrong. But those were also examples of the Andrews thing, though, like where Singletary last week played way more snaps than Breda, and in a script where they might run some more. And that's kind of what ended up happening. Like if he was chalked, there's no fucking way I'm playing Singletary. But like taking the chance that it was all him and no Breda, I felt good about. And then Amon-Ra St. Brown, I was way off of. There was no way I was going to play him. And then Wiggins was talking to me about him. And I looked into it, and he was the classic guy that projects well that no one wants to play. But I also looked into the projection. And if anything, I was like, there's actually room for the target share to be even higher here. Like he was been 30% target share the last 2 weeks. And then Hawkinson's out.
Yeah. I had to check this, but wasn't he in the buy low? Did I imagine that? Did I dream that St. Brown was in the?
I think Aquamania St. Brown somehow was in the buy low.
I don't know. I'm staring at it right now. He's not in it, so I think I dreamed that.
It was like Marquise Brown, Visca, MVS, and Galladay, Nick Westbrook. I think were the ones from the main slate.
Yeah, I'm completely wrong. I'm not kidding. In the back of my head, when I was making that play, I was like, I think he's in the buy low. It's not great. It's not great, boys. Oh man. What a nightmare.
All right. You guys want the captain play tonight? It's Lenny Fournette. Last week I gave you Jakeem Grant. This week I give you Tampa Bay Saints.
Pete, what are you doing with content when we have games every day of the week? I actually am like so handcuffed right now. I don't even know what to do. Should I live stream tomorrow or should I have no idea. People
yesterday were like, Pete, do a showdown cram show. I said, I need a fucking day off from streaming on a Saturday. I'm taking a day off. Yeah, I might do something Tuesday. We'll see. I don't know. It's all energy. I actually don't know what to do, but we'll see. We got Al Smithsel in the chat. Al's got probably 8 videos in the hopper. I'm curious. I don't even know what to do. We do videos next week? I guess on a happier note, I won't be on Tilt Space next week for a very specific reason, which you guys will find out soon. It's very fun. Pete and Leone are in on the whole ordeal. I felt so bad for missing last week. I missed 2 weeks the whole year. And this next one will be my 3rd week, which seems like way. You guys probably kicked me off the show for this, but I hope that's worth it. You guys, there will be content. There will be a video. We'll see. I'm very excited for you. And I'm excited to see
it's video. There's like a 50-50 chance that this goes really bad and I'm on Barstool some way or something.
Joe,
that's how we'll leave it at that. We'll leave it at that.
I'm happy for you.
We will see. We'll get a cameo or something.
Yes, your cameos now. So we've gotten
Couldn't
a
hear you guys
cameo
at all
from
at the game.
you, from Foxborough Bar, just loud. That was the brim. That was the original
yeah.
brim shot.
It's a good hat,
And,
though.
and then we've got you going field side at the Tampa Bay game. Meanwhile, Leone and I just haven't fucking left our houses for an entire year, and you're out here gallivanting around the world. It's like this guy doesn't even know Omicron's out here.
Yeah, I know. It would have been like a way cooler story if I had like Perriman in all my game stacks, or maybe some Gabriel Davis last week. So yeah, it really wasn't that cool. And I also couldn't hear you guys at all, and I feel bad. I actually listened to it back. I was like, I was like touching my AirPods, and it was giving like all this feedback. So you guys probably just hated me the entire time. I listened to you guys though. I literally had one AirPod in as I'm watching the game. I was listening to you guys talk. Best.
Way to smell the roses, Holka.
Yeah, best thing. Well, the Bills fans were not very nice, Leone, just so you know.
Really? Usually they're
it was a good atmosphere. They were just not happy with what was going on in the game, which is fair.
Yeah, usually they're not a happy bunch, but usually they're not mean to opposing teams.
I mean, I didn't have a dog in the fight. I was just there.
Yeah.
Joe Mixon headed to the locker room. That sounds fun.
Hey man, anytime you can get Joe Mixon at 5%, you have to shove, right? Oh, he was actually way more than that. Did he turn into like who was the cool kid GBC play this week?
So
Mixon was 15%. I thought he'd be sub 10 for sure.
Mixon and Najee ended up getting a lot just because there were no running backs to play. So they ended up, I think the Najee stuff was predictable. I thought Mixon would be a little lower than he was.
The cool kid GPP play this week was Chase Claypool.
Yeah, I know it interesting.
Didn't he stay low though?
Yeah, that's why it was so cool. It was just us and TikTok fans that were
guys. We
playing
talked about this. The Titans are very good at playing the deep ball. What are you doing playing Chase Claypool?
I mean, Chase Claypool was getting into rounds and fades in the red zone, so it didn't really affect the deep
reason
ball.
He was bad is because they're good against the deep ball.
I could have gone for a Chase Claypool 8 for 93 game like we got the week before. I could have taken some. I would have gone for some quick slants.
Find someone who looks at you the way Tyler Huntley looks at Mark Andrews. I'll just tell you guys that right now.
Man. Are all these games over? Can I go to bed?
No, I mean there's literally 15 minutes. Should we shut this down soon here?
Oh, I wasn't saying that.
Yeah.
I just like more or less want the day to end.
My final point of tilt that I have to get out is we took Matt Ryan over 31.5 pass attempts on props, and he just refuses to throw the ball away. He's got 5 rush attempts and 3 sacks, and he's going to miss by 1 attempt. And yeah, San Francisco just ran the clock out. So that's great.
Brutal week, guys. It's crazy considering week 16 and 17. Those are our kind of last 2 pure, full, non-chaotic
Don't
main
say
slates.
that because you're a cash game bro in week 18. We got 3 slates left.
All the GPP bros acknowledge that the last week of the season is
it's a bye week.
Slate.
It's a bye week for the GP bros for sure.
So
I mean, I'll be happy to come on here and show you guys my cash lineup week 18.
Can we get a bankroll update? Are we even now?
No, we're still up.
Let's go.
But the
because every time we go to Reg and you guys want to fire hard and I rein us back in.
Someone says Ryan has 32 attempts, but I'm looking at the play-by-play. I think they might have fucked up. Either they fucked up earlier and they fixed it, or they fucked up now and he doesn't really have 32 attempts.
Leone, what are you doing in NFT League for week 17, bro?
Well, I got options, Joe. I got options.
Man.
All right. Well, it's been fun.
It's been
Has
fun.
It though?
I think it's fun. I think it's cathartic. People like when we come on here and we're miserable.
Sure.
And look, I don't want to actually paint the chat that way. You guys, you like the extremes. You like it when we're celebrating something sweet or when we're down bad like we are today because it's cathartic for everyone. And that's what the tilt space is. We appreciate you guys hanging out. Hopefully we'll have one more fun sweat at some point to close the season out, Joe, any final plugs for you?
No, this week's awful. That's pretty much all I got.
All right. Joe says this week's awful. Leone?
Do I need to hit like a final reel or something? Why are you throwing it to me? I got nothing.
Okay. Leone has nothing. I love
We
you
made
guys.
it to 55 minutes.
Channel.
That's pretty solid.
We made it 55 minutes. We'll see you in week 16. Deuces.